Welcome to another episode of Last Week's Comics Today. I've got a pretty decent stack here once again. I probably have a cat that's going to show up in the background of this because he won't shut up right now. But we're going to start this episode with Teen Titans issue 5. This is okay. It's what the series started with the team operating well. They were taking down some bad guys. There was some conflict, interpersonal conflict, namely Speedy and Robin, and then there's some Darth, it's great, Garth Donna stuff going on in the background, and then there was the Speedy and the other guys, and everything comes to a head this issue. It feels forced. It doesn't feel set up. The issue actually starts that I feel like I missed an issue, because they have this kid Haywire in here, and I'm like, where did he come from? This is apparently months ago, but I guess it's months from the current present, which is already in the past, and I don't know, whatever. One thing that has been known is that someone is setting up, and I thought it was actually the Anti-Titans, but I guess they're called the Terror Titans, and that's fine. So everything that has been set up throughout the series so far all comes to a head here, and it falls apart. Everything feels forced. We get Toy Boy, who I think was in the convention issue, but I'm not going to go back and check. And the teamwork is just gone, and the whole thing is a mess. And I mean that from a character standpoint, but also just I think, writing standpoint. Everything is going to be resolved next issue. It's how these things work. And it's obvious, but whatever. The series was good up until this point, and now it's just the only road left, I feel like. This is also the first instance, there will be at least one more, where I feel like the cover takes place after the issue. I just flipped through it, and you might have seen something. I don't know what the angle was, but yeah, you might have seen something. Anyway, it's fine. Next up is Sandman issue 2, and this also feels a little bit predictive. Like, I can make certain predictions about where this is going. There's kind of a long-standing trope of you set the hero against someone who is roughly themselves. So, Hush is essentially Batman, right? They've got the same basic history. It's just one turned out very different than the other. Or Zod and Superman, they're, again, that's not exactly the same, since, anyway. But you get the idea. And in the first issue here, someone steals the Sandman's notebook that has his gas formulas, and I'm just going to show this. So of course, this is how it ends, and I feel like this is a woman, mostly because I feel like this is a boob shadow. Anyway, so there's an anti-Sandman running around, and sure, cool, obviously, right? So it'll be Sandman versus that person. And that's fine. The rest of the issue is good, and Rossmo's on art, and I love Rossmo, so it's all good. This is very solid, if somewhat predictable. There's a somewhat long sequence of Sandman breaking up a department store heist, and he hasn't really been sleeping well, and his mind is elsewhere, and he misses some things, and it doesn't go as well as it should. It ends actually like this, which is kind of rough, and he's probably going to get blamed for that. But it's good. It's very good. It should end well, but I'm in it for the long haul, and I enjoyed it. What I didn't enjoy is the Outsiders issue 1, and I should have known, as soon as the preview pages came out over the weekend. It's this opening sequence, and this sequence had been shown before it was lettered, and they actually changed the art between those two previews of unlettered and lettered, and I knew it wasn't going to be good, and turns out it's not good, and it's a mess. But Kate is in full bat get-up, except she's not wearing her mask, which seems incredibly stupid. And she should be smarter than that. And he shows up, and they have a conversation, and he's like, I need your help. And she's saying, this thing is important to me, even though I'm never going to bring it up again. And he's like, I've got all this money. You can do whatever you want. And she's like, yeah, we're not going to use any of the money for the thing that I just said is important to me, is what all of this conversation is about. And then they get out of the plane and they go somewhere else, and I'm probably never going to see that place again. This isn't the only instance. There will be another in the stack. But they're trying very hard to do Wildstorm, to do the Authority, and failing completely. And it's just a mess. Like, these characters say and do things, and it seems like someone beforehand said, we need to get from point A to point B, and you have 20 pages to do it, and do whatever it takes. So all sorts of nonsense happens in order to get from point A to point B, and none of it is organic in any way. None of it really flows well. It's just ham-fisted. People should not mess with Wildstorm characters unless they know what they're doing, and these people do not. I made this same statement when I was talking about the recent Wildcats series that just ended. The first issue of that was utter nonsense, and this is much the same, and I should have known, but I gave it a shot because I care about Batwoman, and I once upon a time cared about Planetary, but nobody is Alice or Miller, and should be left alone. Don't buy this. I almost forgot what this feels like, and nobody's gonna remember this because you shouldn't. Don't go looking for it. But there were two miniseries back in 2001. There was the Monarchy and the Establishment that were rip-offs / spin-offs from the Authority, and they were each 12 issues, and they were both a mess. And it was the exact same feeling as this, which is it should not exist and be immediately forgotten. Lotus Land, issue 1. This was a Steve pick at the comic shop, and ordinarily Steve and I see eye to eye fairly often when it comes to comic selection. And so I flipped through this, and the art looked good, and I don't remember reading a preview for this, so I threw this in my pile, and I'm not beginning a second issue of this. It's somebody trying very hard, and much like Outsiders, failing. So this is, it's going to seem familiar if you have seen Blade Runner, but there's, hey look, there's a bird. There's this dude, and everyone speaks in very vague terms, and it's very strange, and hey look, you've got a flying police car, and it's just plain weird. And these two go into his house, and like the kid takes his coat off immediately. He's reaching for it, and in the span of time that all of this conversation happens and the kid crosses the room, he is only just now taking his coat off, and I'm like, wow, he's moving really slowly. But an old partner recruits him to come back. There's one more case, and she leaves the fridge door open for a very long time. They also leave the front door open for a long time. It's very strange. Nobody cares about energy in the future because it's the future. And this guy just leaves his kid at home for an unknown amount of time. It's very, very weird. There's a lot of very vague things happening, and nothing is explained well at all, and characters do things that don't make any sense, and it's bad, and you should not get this one either. We're on a real run, because speaking of things that you shouldn't get is the Cull, issue 4. It ends with a to be concluded, which I'm thankful for, because it's the Cull had a brilliant first issue, and it's been disappointing ever since then. The art is still good, and I don't care about what's happening with any of the characters. So, if you are interested, then you can get the trade. because I'm sure it's Image, and they will inevitably put out a trade shortly after the last issue. But I don't care. I just want to see it over. Oh boy. Dutch issue 0. So Dutch had in the Image exclamation point anthology, the 12-issue anthology that they couldn't page number. There's a preview, there's a sample pages, there's an 8-page, 4-page short something for Dutch. Joe Casey, I can't remember who the artist was at the time. Nathan Fox is not the artist for the upcoming miniseries. It'll be Simon Gain? I don't know who that is. Very different art style based on the cover. But this is also terrible. It's probably, I'm going to say conservatively, the worst Joe Casey book I've ever read. It's overwritten, overly dramatic stupidity. This whole thing, the whole, I don't know how many pages, 74 issues, the whole 78 pages, I'm lying, is Dutch recapping his history, recapping the decades from which that we haven't seen him, and basically nothing happened, and characters that we used to know have been renamed because nobody has the rights to them anymore. And it's not good. There's nothing. I mean, this should have been another 8-page short. There's way too much talking in this. He over narrates the hell out of it, and it's just bad. I will definitely not be getting the 2-issue miniseries based on this. It's terrible. Now for some better stuff. Yes, we've got better stuff happening. I was unsure about G.I. Joe, but I was talking to Berg at the comic shop, and he said it's good, and his complaint, which I share, is whenever somebody references a vehicle in this, they say the full name. So there's the C-130 that gets name-dropped a bunch of times, and the whale that gets name-dropped. And half the reason I got this, a big part of the reason why I was curious, is the art of Chris Mooneyham, who I first noticed on Five Ghosts many years ago, and I still wish that series would continue or be adapted. But the art's great. The art continues to be great. The writing is bonkers. There are these opening 2 pages that give a recap, a state of affairs, really, as far as what is and has been going on with the Joes and with Cobra, and I have honestly never read a G.I. Joe comic. So we're 300 issues in, and that's fine. But this is cool. So it talks about Cobra starting as a pyramid scheme. Where did that go? Pyramid scheme. And now they're an arms dealership organization, and Destro and Baroness are a rival organization, and Serpentor is doing his own thing. And these pages here were shown, I want to say, a couple of months ago. These were the preview pages that were put out originally when the book was announced, and I thought it was great, and it still is. And there's some real surprises. So, right in the beginning here, Serpentor Khan triggers a bomb. And Dr. Mindbender's like, oh, you're going to turn that off, right? And he's like, nope! And nobody stops the bomb. The bomb goes off, and there are consequences. Like, there are serious consequences for everything happening. But just look at this art. This is amazing. I love it. It's bonkers, it's wild, and in, I'm going to say, the best possible way. It's surprising, it's awesome, it's high adventure, it's high octane. There's this at the back, too. I'm going to show you this. So there's a bunch of like character profiles, and this is also informative for me because I know these names mostly, except Sean and Dawn. But this is very interesting and informative as well, and much like I just learned yesterday that Shockwave is in the choir and a tenor, there's a bunch of information at the end of this. So if you are curious, definitely grab this. I had a blast reading it, and I will be, I think, getting future issues as long as Mooneyham is on art. I don't know how long this is. I don't know. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. Fishflies issue 3, so it turns out I didn't cancel this and just wait for the trade. I'm still getting it. But this is the other instance where I feel like this cover actually happens after the issue itself. In this, not terribly much happens, but a couple of things do happen, and I feel like some of the stuff that happens in between is set up for later, so, you know, eventual payoff. I want to point out this guy's face. I love this old man face. It's amazing. It's just got a hook for a hand. So, yeah, there's giant monster and girl stuff happening, and cops are investigating, and there's some bad parenting, and it's good. I mean, it's Jeff Lemire doing Jeff Lemire stuff. If you're not getting this, if you are waiting for the trade, which I'm just going to recommend because of the 2-month wait between issues is not ideal, then you check out some of the other Jeff Lemire stuff. I'm looking at Roughneck on the shelf over there. Underwater Welder is brilliant too, but yeah, I mean, if you are at all unfamiliar, grab one of his completed books, and there are things shorter than getting all of Sweet Tooth, for instance. So, the Maze book, yes. Just get any of those things and then wait for this trade. But it's still good. Things are happening. Arcade Kings issue 5, and I feel like this is maybe delayed, but whatever. It's absolutely worth the wait. I don't want to show much because there will be absolutely spoilers, and this is one of the books that I don't want to spoil what happens. But in the previous issue, this guy got powered up, and now he says he's back, and there's a lot of family drama going on with these two and their father, and there is a lot of kicking and punching, and it is brilliant, and it's beautifully illustrated, and all of it's highly kinetic, and it's amazing, and I love it, and you should get this trade because it's glorious. I love this, but also the writing is incredibly well done, so all of it has real emotional impact, and it's just really well done. It's one of the best books of the week. However, this still exists. So this is really good, and you should get it and read it and buy the trade and read the whole thing. This is great. Lastly, there is Coda issue 3, and this is absolutely getting pick of the week. It's absolutely brilliant, and I loved it, and we get this flashback sequence with dueling narration, and it's hilarious, and I again loved it. But we've got this going on, and there's a lot of saying one thing and doing another this issue, and it's amazing, and I loved every second of it, and it gets to the last page, and there's so much mayhem. Nothing goes as expected, and it's still brilliant, and I'm just going to gush about this for 2 more issues until the series is over, but grab the original hardcover of the first 18 issues, and this is volume 2, and you should get all of it as Sketch Night John did, because it's amazing, and I love it. And I would show you more, except I don't want to, because I want you to discover it for yourself. But highest possible recommendation. So that is everything that I got this week, and I want to... Unfortunately, a bunch of this was terrible, and there was a long stretch where I'm like, man, this is just not a great week for comics, even though I got a bunch of them. But Sandman's good, mostly Rossmo on art. I still love that guy. This is hugely entertaining, this is amazing, and is runner-up for Pick of the Week, but Pick of the Week undoubtedly goes to Coda issue 3. for reasons that I wish I could tell you more about, but I don't want to spoil things. It's just beautiful and amazing. So that is everything that I got this week. It's technically been untrue for a long time, but I'm still not talking about those. This is everything that I got this week. As always, I get my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.